With half a bottle of Thalul sloshing in his belly, Mere Glim made his wobbly way back toward the old Imperial district. He knew Anaig was going to be irritated with him for not returning sooner, but at the moment he didn't care that much. Anyway, it wasn't much fun watching her concoct her smelly compounds, which is what she had surely been doing all afternoon. He hadn't spent much time with his cousins lately, or with anyone except Anaig, really. If he had, he might have known he wasn't alone in feeling a bit cut off from the tree, that only the Anxiliel and other even wilder people from the deep swamps seemed to enjoy complete rapport with it. That was bothersome in a lot of ways, and perhaps most bothersome was that his mind, like many of his people, had a hard time believing in coincidence. If the tree was doing something strange at the same time a flying city appeared from nowhere, it seemed impossible that there wasn't some connection. Maybe Anaig's father was right. After all, the old man did work with the Anxiliel. Maybe it was time to go, away from Lilmuth and its rogue tree. If it was rogue, if all the Hist weren't involved, because if they were, he would have to get out of Black Marsh entirely. A light rain began splattering the mud-covered path as he passed beneath the pocked, eroded limestone arch that had once marked the boundary of the Imperial quarter. He whirl-jumped as a fluttering motion at the edge of his vision opened ancient templates, but what he saw there wasn't a venin bat or blood moth. It took him a moment to sort out that it was Anaig's metal bird, Ku. She must really be irritated, he thought. She rarely used Ku for anything. He blew out some of the water that had collected in his nose and flipped open the little hatch that covered the mirror. He didn't find Anaig gazing back at him, though. It was dark, which meant the locket was closed. But it was emitting faint sounds. He pressed the bird nearer his ear. At first he didn't hear much, breathing, the muffled voices of two men, but then suddenly a man was shouting and a woman shrieked. He knew that shriek like he knew his own. It was Anaig. "Back here, girl!" a hoarse voice growled. "Just tell my father you put me on the ship," he heard Anaig shout. "He'll never know the difference." "Maybe he wouldn't," hoarse voice grunted. "But I would, yeah? So on the boat you go." Anaig then vented a string of profanities, some of which she almost certainly had made up on the spot, because Mere Glim hadn't heard them before, and he had pretty much heard all of her arsenal of swear words and phrases, or thought he had. With a grunt he turned around and started back down toward the docks. It seemed Anaig's father did know something so bad he'd had his own daughter kidnapped to get her out of town. Well, that was great. Now he felt worse about everything. He began to run.